Welcome to another episode of the Stone Age Gamers. Today's episode is called You Just Got Gifted. Enjoy.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Stone Age Gamer Podcast. My name is Chris, and I will be your host for the evening. With me, as always, is the impressionable Dean DeFalco.
Oh, I'm just impressionable now. Okay, I got it.
The irrepressible Dan Ryan.
Oh, what's up, man?
And the inebriated Mike Sheridan.
What's up?
Yes, everybody. We're recording a few days early this week in regards to me being out of town this weekend because it's my birthday.
Woo!
So I'll be celebrating at a marvelous place called Yestercades, which is it's just like a modern arcade. It's everything you want everything you would want out of a modern arcade. You go to the place. It's a big old room. It's got tons of games, console games, arcade games, pinball games, pool table, board games. And instead of plunking in quarters, it's pay by the hour. So everything's set to free play. You just show up, you play as many games as you want, you pay for your time, and you call it a day. And it's a magnificent, magnificent place. So if you're in the New Jersey area, go to Red Bank. Go right down the street to Yestercades. That's all I have to say about that.
They are opening up another one. I forget what town, but they're opening up another one right now.
It's very cool to me that they're doing well enough to open up a second location because that's like modern arcades, man. It's something.
They're bringing it back.
Bringing it back. Anyways, in honor of my birthday, the other fine gentleman on the podcast decided to do a show about our best video game gifts, the best gifts we've ever gotten as gamers relating to our favorite hobby. And, I mean, obviously we've all been gamers as long as we've been around, and we've probably received plenty of fun gifts in the video game pantheon. So we're going to go a little round table. We'll just do a quick little, let's see who did what. So who's going to go first? I choose Dan. Dan, talk to us. What was your best video game gift?
Well, I was going to say that the best video game gift I got was the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game on the NES because, you know, we didn't happen to blast the shit out of it last week. But, yeah, I can't lie. Not only is it a terrible game, but true story, my grandparents drove up to New Jersey from Florida. We went to the Deptford Mall. I went to KB Toys. I picked out the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game, was really excited about it. Went home, showed my mother the game that I picked out, and she was like, oh, I already got that for you for Christmas. You're grounded. And I got grounded for 3 weeks, which was really, I'm not really sure how the hell that worked, but that
Are we going with bad memories again? Like how we did Bad Dads?
No,
we're all going to do good ones. Dan's going to do bad. It's a complete opposite of the Father's Day one.
Oh, okay.
No, but I actually have a really, yeah, I don't know what lesson that taught me in life, but
Life is cruel.
It's just, man. Anyway, so I was in Florida visiting these same grandparents a few years later, and it was the summer of 1992, and I was really looking forward to being able to get a Super Nintendo because the main thing that I wanted for my Super Nintendo was to kick the crap out of all of my friends in Street Fighter II. And Street Fighter II came out that year in August. So this was late summer. I was hanging out in Florida with my grandparents. I was about a week or two before school started the next year, and we just happened to go out to a store. I don't even remember what store it was. And my grandmother, who was the most awesome woman on the planet, we were walking around, and she was like, hey, so your birthday is going to be in October, and we're not going to be able to get up to see you this year, so do you want to pick out a birthday gift now? Yeah, sure, that sounds fine. Like, let's go check a couple things out. And she walked right over to the video games section in the store and was like, this Super Nintendo thing's supposed to be relatively new. Do you want one of those? Yes, I do. Can I get Street Fighter II as well? Sure you can. Best birthday, early birthday present I've ever gotten. Took it home.
Sure you can.
Oh,
sure
bro.
you can.
Damn, I should have gone. That was good. I took that home and played the hell out of Street Fighter 2 And I remember getting home to my grandparents' house, and they let me call my friend back home in New Jersey, my friend Nick Louie, who was one of my best friends growing up as a kid. And I was like, Nick, I got Street Fighter 2 and a Super Nintendo. I'm going to be home in like 3 days, and we're all going to play. It's going to be amazing. And it was. It was the best. It was the best video game gift I've ever gotten. We played the shit out of Street Fighter 2 on Super Nintendo.
Who'd you play as?
I was always Ryu. Always.
All right.
If you must, if you got to be technical. But yeah, always, always, always. I know Ken is exactly the same, especially in the early Street Fighter stuff. But yeah, I agree. Fuck Ken. Nobody likes him.
Them's fighting words, boys.
And like I got really good with everybody. It was my goal to beat everybody in the development that I grew up in, and just even though I hate playing with charged characters, to this day I can't stand playing with characters like Guile. It's just not the way I enjoy playing. I got really good with everybody.
Guile's my character, man. I love charged characters because I'm all defense.
Yeah, I played defensively too, but I just have never gotten the charge character thing. I just don't like it.
When I first,
it leaves you open more.
I think that was always my feeling.
I always feel like it's because it's all planning. So like when I'm Guile, for example, and I'm jumping towards somebody, I've always got that in my head, like I'm going to jump towards somebody, and if they don't throw an attack, I'm going to grab them and do the whole backbreaker. But if they do throw an attack, as soon as I press that up forward to jump, I'm already down charging back, so that as soon as I land, if I need to counter with a flash kick, then I can counter with a flash kick, And it's just all this kind of gets me in this right mindset for planning ahead and chaining stuff together. And it's funny, this is the second time I've had this conversation today. I had a customer come into my store earlier, and they asked me what the best team, what is the best lineup of characters for the original Final Fantasy? Not your favorite. What is the best, like the mathematical best party to put together for Final Fantasy 1? And I don't remember how it evolved into a conversation about Street Fighter, but it was like something about like choosing Dalsim, and you can be good at Dalsim, he's not the best character to play as. And I kind of countered that with, well, it could be the best character to play as for that person, similar to how choosing a party in Final Fantasy is going to depend on your play style. But he still kind of insisted that there's got to be a mathematical best choice in the original Final Fantasy, and it was weird, but it's kind of strange that I had that Street Fighter conversation twice in one day.
Chris, have you played each other in Street Fighter? Like the new Street Fighter, the Street Fighter 4?
I don't think we have, Dan. We have not fought one another.
No, I have it for PS4 or for PS3. I mean.
Oh yeah, I have it on.
You 360. Guys have it 360. Yeah, I got rid of my 360.
Why? Why would you get rid of any video game console?
I don't know. I'm not a big Xbox guy, truth be told, and is just I used it mostly for Netflix and HBO Go, and I got a Chromecast instead. So
Chromecasts are amazing.
It
I've
really
only heard
is.
good things about it.
Dude, for $35 you can't go wrong. But to your point, Chris, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think there may actually be a mathematical best for the original Street Fighter 2 anyway, because the characters weren't necessarily balanced yet.
They weren't seriously balanced by that point.
Well, with Street Fighter 2, there's like 38 editions.
The original, World Warrior, the original.
Okay.
Because I know they had originally talked about, and this is amazing that this was a conversation that people had while making this game, but they originally talked about making Chun-Li take more damage than the male fighters in the game. And eventually, cooler heads prevailed, and they decided to take that shit out. But that was a legitimate part of their development cycle in the beginning, was like, well, she's a girl, so if a dude hits her, she's got to get hurt more, right? And it's just like...
That's just science, apparently.
It's just science. It's fact.
Thanks, Japan.
So crazy. So I know that the characters themselves weren't necessarily balanced back then. They are now, certainly. Unless you're playing somebody who's really good with Rufus on Super Street Fighter 4, because damn does that shit feel unbalanced.
Yun and Yang are my kryptonite as far as Street Fighter is concerned.
Really?
Yeah, the Yun and Yang. I don't even know if it's those characters or if it's just this kid Alex that I know that's unfathomably good at Street Fighter and can just demolish me with those two characters. In Third Strike, for example, he'll pick Yang, and I won't even touch the ground. Like, he'll just get me started, and then the match is over, and I will never land until the match is over. And I'm like, damn it, I can't do anything. It's over.
No, mine for the current Street Fighter stuff is Rufus. I am just awful against Rufus. But the original stuff, it was always Honda. Anybody who's really good with the Honda just would destroy me for whatever reason. I don't know what the hell it was, but I was terrible against him. Just terrible.
The thing it's all about DJ.
Billy Blanks, really?
You would say that.
Dude, because he have you ever heard his sound effects on the Street Fighter, the original one? Well, the first one that he was in.
Super.
Because he goes, ooh, doo da. Max out, and I'm just like, the fact that when he does a spinning roundhouse kick, he goes ooh doo da for each.
Just Billy Blanks with Daibo. It's like it's all I hear.
Bad. It's so bad, and it's so good, and that's why I love him because he has that shit-eating grin on too.
Is that your favorite character, Dean?
Oh yeah,
DJ.
Well, he's my favorite character between him and Guile, but Guile just because. There's just so much America in one man, and it's ridiculous.
It really is.
That hair that defies gravity.
All right, guys. So, Dan, you got anything else to add about your favorite gift?
No, but I'm just going to continue this real quick. Chris, favorite Street Fighter character?
Kyle.
Mike?
Ryu.
Mine's Akuma. So, okay. No, that's all I got. It was just a really amazing gift, and just I had an absolute blast playing. We would go over to this kid Gordon's house who lived down the street from me, and we would get like 15, 20 kids just hanging out playing Street Fighter 2. It was amazing. It was so much fun.
Outstanding. So, Dean, why don't you go next?
Mine's not anything like huge or anything like that. 3 years ago now, when I started going out with my girlfriend, so almost 3 years ago. For my birthday, she knows I really, really like action figures, but I refuse to buy them for myself most of the time because I have no place to put them. And I like video game action figures the best because I feel that there aren't a crap ton of them out everywhere. So, like, there's a certain amount. So she went to the toy store and she like searched for one, and then she found one, and it was really cool because she got me Tails from Sonic 1, I guess. Yeah, Sonic the Hedgehog. And it's him in the chemical level with, like, the little spider and everything. And
that's Sonic 2.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's fantastic. It's, like, my favorite thing ever. Just because I don't really have a lot of the action figures or anything, and it's, like, the one that I have in front of everything else. It's, like, front and center in my room most of the time. So, yeah, that's pretty much my favorite one. It's nothing gorgeous or fancy, but...
Wow, it's a pretty sweet gift.
Yeah.
You know, this just happened to me a couple of weeks ago. I never really got the pun in Tails' name before. I mean, obviously the Tails thing, but Miles Prowler is supposed to sound like miles per hour, and I never noticed that until about a couple of weeks ago.
Really?
Chris, out of all people.
It never even occurred to me until a customer in my store mentioned it maybe a week and a half ago. I was like, oh crap, really? That's awful.
I'm trying to hold back doing like an accent and saying Miles Prowler, but I'm not going to.
I'm not gonna stop you.
I'm gonna bury it deep down. I'm gonna bury it nice deep and down.
I think you bring up a good point though, of there not being a lot of really good video game action figures, right?
Yeah,
I would love if Nintendo had put out something like the Marvel Legends line, right? Because that line before all the toys went up to they're like $38 now, I think, per
something
figure.
Like that, yeah.
Which isn't. I mean, I remember getting that first couple of waves of Marvel Legends for $8 at Walmart, and it was they were amazing. They're still the best action figures that have ever been made, in my opinion, anyway. But if Nintendo had put out a line of that of their iconic figures, that would have made just millions and millions of dollars. But
I had these little mini Mario. I guess they weren't statues. They were just like little, like PVC figures of a bunch of the Mario characters, and I played with those like crazy. And then I always wanted a Link and a Pit. Like I always wanted those characters, or a Samus. And it wasn't until like Ocarina of Time there was a Link action figure. But those were tough to find, and God bless you finding one now, which is, I guess, is part of what I really am excited about these amiibo things that Nintendo just announced at E3. Is like they're not movable action figures, but they're little mini statues, and because they're based on, I mean, they're going to work on multiple games, but their artwork is based on Smash Brothers, so there's all these different characters from all these different Nintendo franchises in little figurine form, and whether they work with the games well or not, I don't care. I want all of them because they're just so damn cool.
Yeah, the most diverse video game lineup of toys that I think there has ever been, I'm guessing it's the Mini-Mates, because the Mini-Mates put out a ton of different shit. But
yeah, like first appearance Ryu from Marvel vs. Capcom 3.
Yeah, like there's just but those, I mean, those are cool, like they're cool little things to have. But I've got a couple, I dig them. But that line that is there that is waiting to be exploited. Because if you walk through, I was at Toys R Us today with my kids, and walking down one of the aisles, there is a little video game action figure section. But they're all like the McFarlane toys, and they have like 3 points of articulation. You can't really play with them. That just always seems so strange to me.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. This week we just got at my store the first fully articulated Mario action figure. He's,
oh my God,
like $25 or something, but he's really awesome looking. And you can buy this little accessory pack for another $20, and that's like, it's got a Goomba and a bunch of bricks and some coins, and like you can fully pose this dude and move him around. And it's just part of the figure arts line, which in Japan has a Pit figure arts, which is
Don't they also
gorgeous.
have a Link?
Yeah, they have a Link as well, the Skyward Sword Link, who's really cool, very poseable. They have a Samus as well. And oh my God, these things are a little spicy as far as the price is concerned, but if these existed when I was younger, oh my God, I would never stop playing with them.
I'd pay $25 for Mario.
Yeah,
Chris,
the
we
Mario
didn't even
ones,
mention the best figures that neither one of us have.
which are
The $50 Mega Man figures.
I have X.
I have a Mega Man and Base.
You got
Are those
them?
the Kotoba
I got them for
Yukis?
Christmas. Yeah, I got them as a Christmas gift for my mother-in-law. The figure arts, the Mega Man with Rush and Base with Treble.
I wish I was able to just be like, here's $50, give me this figure.
I was at Comic-Con. I had money prepared to spend on frivolous things.
I can't do it. Like, I want to so bad, but I'm like, these are so amazing.
You really
They
should.
really are outstanding.
If you can see them, if you see them, yeah.
They're unreasonably articulated too, which is great. You can just move every aspect of them in every direction and put them in all kinds of crazy poses. They're incredibly awesome.
Did they make a Proto Man yet?
No. They've made like
Fuck,
4
did they not
different
want to buy
Zero
minis?
figures, but no Proto Man. So I got Mega Man, Base, no Proto Man. I need a Proto Man. But speaking of Comic-Con, it was actually where I saw this company, First 4 Figures, makes these gorgeous statues. And the Comic-Con was where I first saw this Link on Epona statue, which I eventually wound up buying when it got distributed through Diamond. And it's in my living room because my wife is awesome and lets me keep this in the living room. But oh my God, it's this gorgeously what's the word I'm looking for? Sculpted, detailed. It's based on the artwork from the original promotional artwork from Twilight Princess. That's like him on the horse, and then Wolf Link and Midna in front. So it's just him on the horse, but they also did Wolf Link and Midna in scale, so you can kind of have them next to each other. They did a full-sized Ganon as well with a cloth cape. And years ago, which it isn't my gift, but it could be, my wife gave me for Valentine's Day the Samus and the Varia suit from First 4, which is also just a stunningly detailed, shiny, metallic-looking Samus statue. It's one of my favorite things. But yeah, it's starting to see a bit of a surge now. You're starting to see video game characters get more marketed. Like you mentioned McFarlane Toys earlier. I think they did a line of Assassin's Creed figures. I know they have the Halo license, Gears of War, and you're starting to see a lot more of that. And with Nintendo doing the Amiibo thing and also licensing their stuff out to Figure Arts, I'm hopeful that we're going to start seeing more of that kind of stuff to get into kids' hands and really recognize these characters more, it's cool. It's nice to see. I wish they were around when I was a kid, but better late than never.
I would still buy me like 60 Luigi figures. They'd be all over my room.
Well, and it's just, and especially now with the character depth that Nintendo has, it's almost ridiculous that this line doesn't exist, man. My kids would flip their shit for a ton of little Nintendo characters.
Especially now with Smash Brothers. Every younger kid now knows every character.
Yeah, and that's why one of the things I think, even if these Amiibo things don't catch on from a gameplay perspective, the fact that these things are out there, that you can go into a store and buy a Fox McCloud figure, that's great. That's really great. And weird stuff like the Animal Crossing Villager or Wii Fit Trainer, like this stuff's going to exist.
Yeah.
And what's really great, and probably one of the most understated things about Smash Brothers, is the attention to art design, where even though all these characters come from very different art perspectives, they find a way to redraw them in Smash Brothers so that they look cohesive, which I've always been really impressed with the way that they do that to make it all kind of fit in this cohesive kind of world. So you've got characters like Mega Man, Sonic, Pac-Man, and Mario and Link with all these completely different proportions stand next to each other and have it not look strange. Like they seem to work within the same world, and that's a very impressive thing that I don't think Smash Brothers gets enough credit for. But yeah, Dean, that's a sweet gift, and that kind of stuff is cool. So hooray. I guess we're going to move on to Mike. Mike, talk to us.
I might get like a little bit of nonsense from this, but my wife recently, like when it came out, she got me A Link Between Worlds for the 3DS. Link to the Past was my favorite Zelda game prior to it, and then right when it came out, she's like, I'm going to buy you this. I'm like, I'm not going to be against that. I fully support that. We went, visited Chris back when he was selling video games.
I was.
And she went and got it for me. And from first day that I played it, I'm like, this is amazing. Startup, it felt like I was playing a modern Link to the Past. And I beat the crap out of that game in like 2 days. And I was like, this is now my favorite Zelda game. And that was probably my best video game related gift that I've gotten. Because it felt like my favorite game for Zelda, but better.
Nice. Yeah, Link Between Worlds, man, I'm about halfway through the game right now, and I'm liking it quite a bit. Don't get me wrong. A Link to the Past is really high on my list of favorite games ever. But I will say that the one thing that is impressing me more than anything in A Link Between Worlds is the soundtrack.
Yeah,
it's just for the first night I played it, I was wandering around in the game. I went to Kakariko Village, or however the heck you're supposed to say that word. And I walked into the milk bar, and I found these little dudes sitting in the background, towards the back of the bar, with guitars and whatnot, saying, "Hey, give us 10 rupees and we'll play a song." And I was like, "Okay, sure, why the fuck not?" So I kick him some rupees, and it starts playing just this gorgeous acoustic guitar and violin rendition of a classic Zelda tune. And I just kept doing it over and over again. They'd finish a song, I'd give them another 10 rupees, and then they'll play a different song. All these really amazing acoustic, live recording, acoustic versions of classic Zelda music. And it just blew me away. That and the one of the first songs you hear in the game when you're in the kind of prelude before the evil guy shows up and turns shit into paintings or something like that. This this tune that plays.
It's funny because it's true.
It is, but this tune that plays over that part is just. As soon as I heard that song, I could not stop smiling, and I was like, I know I'm really in for something special. And it's that kind of feeling you get when you know you're playing one of the better Zelda games, is that I know I'm into something special because something as simple as setting the tone for the rest of the game with the soundtrack, it's the kind of attention to detail that makes that series shine. And you just know you're in for something special when you hear music that good and that lovingly crafted. And I've been enjoying the heck out of the game since.
Who's the composer on that one? Is it still Kondo?
I think it's still Kondo.
I think so.
I'm gonna look that up to be absolutely sure, but I'm fairly certain it's still Kondo.
Right when you start it up, it just feels like you're playing A Link to the Past for the first time. So, like, kids nowadays have that feel. Like I say to Chris all the time, nostalgia wins over all facts. You know, it's when I started that up, it felt like I was playing A Link to the Past for the first time. I remember when I first played Link to the Past, I was in my brother's room. He had it, and I was obviously very young. But I was like, this is amazing. And that's the same feel I had when I started playing that.
Yeah, A Link to the Past, I think you're going to find with a lot of people who may listen to this episode that they share a similar kind of love for that game as a gift, because I think it was the year that A Link to the Past came out. I could be wrong. It might have been the following year, but I think it was in 91 when the game came out. That was a Christmas pack-in for the Super Nintendo. Like, you bought the Super Nintendo, got A Link to the Past with it. And I would imagine that there are a ton of kids out there who that would be their favorite gift of getting, Christmas morning, opening up not only a Super Nintendo, but arguably one of the top 5 games that's ever been made for any system ever. I can imagine you would have some company on that one.
Yeah, I still get a bucket of shit from me being like, now Link Between Worlds is my number one.
I haven't played it yet. I really do want to, because as far as I'm concerned, like I said, A Link to the Past, one of the, if not top 5, it is. I don't even know. I'd have to think about that, but it is one of the greatest games ever released. A Link to the Past is just absolutely incredible and holds up so well even today with all the other stuff that's come out and all the advancements that have been made. A Link to the Past is amazing. So if it's a Link Between Worlds?
Yes.
Is it A Link Between Worlds? If that is anything like A Link to the Past, then it therefore has to be amazing.
It really is, Dan. It really is.
The small things they do in that game is just amazing.
I gotta share what I've learned here about the soundtrack. All right, so this guy's name is Ryo Nagamatsu, and this guy is he's worked with Kondo on a handful of the more recent things.
Okay.
This guy has done the music for Super Mario Galaxy 2, which, if you've never heard that soundtrack, wow. New Super Mario Bros. Wii, Mario Kart Wii, Nintendo Land, Legend of Zelda: Link Between Worlds, and Mario Kart 8, which, Mike, you've definitely heard music from Mario Kart 8.
Oh, I have.
So, and if just a quick little side note, if anybody hasn't played Mario Kart 8 yet, not only is it one of the best Mario Kart games that's ever been made, but it is easily the best soundtrack because it is all live recordings.
It's amazing.
And it really is, especially when you listen to live recordings of the older songs. So stuff like Donut Plains from the Super Nintendo game, or probably my favorite redone track was the Moo Moo Meadows from Mario Kart Wii, which is they play it on like violins and acoustic guitars, and it just sounds wonderful. So this guy has now officially shown up on my radar because he seems to be responsible for some really, really, really good music.
Everything he does is magic.
Every little thing he does is magic.
Jesus Christ. The simple fact that you weren't sure if it was Koji Kondo or not should give you enough of an indication of where this dude's talent level lies, because Koji Kondo is
he's
every
a
video
legend.
game. Every video game song you hum in your head is a Koji Kondo song.
Yeah, and it seems that he worked with Kondo on Galaxy 2 before kind of moving off on his own. Like, Galaxy 2 was in 2010, and then his next credit is Nintendo Land from 2012. And Nintendo Land's another one of those games that has really, really good music. There's actually a whole jukebox section in it where you can listen to individual versions of the songs, which is really cool. So, Mike, anything else to add to your gift there?
No, just proving the point that when I was playing the game, my wife would make fun of me because I would have these little fanboy moments of every point that reminded me of Link to the Past. And I would, freak out while I'm playing the game. And I look pretty stupid playing my 3DS while we're laying in bed and freaking out. But that's about it.
Well, that's very cool. All right, well, then I guess I'll close out. I'll finish this off with really one of the coolest gestures that anyone's ever done for me. I've gotten a lot of really good video game gifts over the years. I mentioned the Samus statue from my wife. In the first episode, I mentioned the Atari 2600 I got, which was my first video game system, which I still have. It still sticks with me. A lot of great games over the years. My wife last year gave me Mega Man The Wily Wars reproduction cartridge to run on my Genesis, so I can actually plug that cartridge into my Genesis and play it with a Genesis controller, and it works, and it's incredibly cool. But the best gift I ever got was my Wii U. Except with the exception of the original NES, because I was too young to really know about it beforehand. With the exception of that and the original Game Boy, I've gotten every Nintendo system at launch because I'm just this huge Nintendo fan, and my sister and I saved up so that we get a Super Nintendo at launch. I came home from school around right before when the Nintendo 64 came out, and my mom was wearing this pre-order T-shirt that she got from Toys R Us to show me that she had pre-ordered a Nintendo 64 and Mario 64 that I'd get on day one. I even managed to convince my parents to get me a Virtual Boy the day it came out. And
really?
Yeah, absolutely.
I did not know that.
You were then subsequently disappointed.
Never was I disappointed by the Virtual Boy until it was discontinued.
Until he started vomiting when he played it.
The vomiting and the headaches were worth it. Red Line Mario Tennis, come on.
Well worth it. Oh, I loved Mario Tennis. That game was a lot of fun. It was a fairly basic tennis game, but it was the first Mario Tennis game. I mean, it was super fun. It had a great soundtrack. Mario Clash is a super cool game because it's an extension of the original arcade Mario Brothers game. So it's like a 3D-ized version of that, which is really great. Telero Boxer is it's like a super, almost like a Punch-Out style game, except with giant robots. You got Jack Brothers from Atlas, which is kind of like a Zelda-style top-down adventure game, and the unbelievably good Wario Land for Virtual Boy, which is still a crime that it's never been ported to anything because, I mean, damn it, it's just so good. But every Nintendo console since the beginning, since I've been old enough to be a part of that, I've always gotten at launch. So when around the time where the Wii U was coming out, I was getting ready to have a kid, and I wasn't going to be able to afford it. I knew that it was coming, but there was just no way. I looked at my finances and I said, I can't afford this. This is money we need for the family. And I told my wife that. I was like, look, this is really important to me, but I'm not going to do it. And I might be a little bummed when the system comes out because I won't be there for the launch, but I need to do this for our family. And as soon as I said that, completely unbeknownst to me, she got on Facebook, contacted every friend of mine that she knew, and said, this will not stand. Chris needs to have a Wii U on launch day. He's really broken up about it, and he's making this sacrifice for our family, so we need to band together and get this for him. And later, after they actually gave it to me, I got to look at this whole Facebook thread of all my friends pitching in money, getting the pre-order down, reserving me a handful of games, controllers, everything that I would need for launch day. And even Mike and my other friend Rich talking me out of cracking and just saying, screw it, put it on my credit card and go to the launch party in New York, and everybody talking me out of it, completely unbeknownst to me that they had already secured me a system.
I did the same thing with you with Wily Wars. I was like, I don't think
That's
you should
true.
get it.
Yeah, you did. You talked. I was standing there in the store like, nah, you don't need to get that. You don't need that.
No, just wait it out. It might drop in price.
So the day the Wii U comes out, it's a Sunday. I go to work. Slightly bummed. I come home from work, and as soon as I open the door, I get this big surprise from a bunch of my friends sitting on the couch, and I'm like, hey, this is super cool. And my wife Karen was like, yeah, we figured, since you were bummed about not getting the Wii U, we'd have some friends over and we'll just play video games all night. And I was like, all right, that's going to be fun. And my friend Tony is sitting on the corner of my couch and says, yeah, we could play, one of the games you already have. Or we could play this. And he pulls out the Wii U out of this bag that's next to him, and I just lost my shit. I could have been in tears for all I remember. I was so incredibly moved by it that all these people got together to pitch in to get me this console because they knew how important it was to me to have it on launch day. And that I am so fortunate to have so many nice people around me to have done that. And we hooked it up. We plugged in Nintendo Land, and I got Nintendo Land, Zombie U, Scribblenauts, and New Super Mario Brothers. And we didn't even touch Zombie U or Scribblenauts. We thought about
Zombie U.
Yeah, Zombie U is a really cool game that I am awful at.
It's a cool concept, but that's about it.
I see. I don't necessarily agree that it's just a cool concept because I've seen people play that game very well, and I've seen this kind of community that got built around the online mode. Like, it's almost Dark Souls-ish in the way that it's really, really hard, and you can leave other people hints and stuff to help get past all these parts of the game. It's a really, really cool game that's pretty rough around the edges,
and it's not comfortable to play. That's my thing. I've been playing all zombie-related games, and it doesn't feel comfortable. That's my thing with it.
All right, I can see that. But anyway, back to the story is we wound up playing. We were looking at New Super Mario Brothers. I was all excited, but I thought to myself, I really want to play this Nintendo Land. So we put Nintendo Land in. And I wanted to see what it was really about, and unbelievably, we wound up playing that game for hours. I think we put in at least 4 to 5 hours of just Nintendo Land that night because it's that much fun in a multiplayer setting. And I couldn't believe how much fun we were having with it because the game had been getting kind of lukewarm reviews around the internet, and I think they're all full of it. I think anybody who thinks that game is stupid is out of their mind, or they just haven't played it in a 5-player setting.
It makes it feel like Nintendo 64 again. It's party game.
Yeah, it really is. It makes you so we wound up, I think the game we played the most was the Mario Chase, which is it's very similar to Pac-Man Versus, where you have one person has the gamepad, and they can only see the entire map and where everybody is on it, and it's kind of like a big game of hide and seek. And then the other 4 people are playing split screen on the big television, and they have to track you down. And so the areas are all color-coded, so everyone's yelling back and forth, oh, I just saw him in blue, head towards blue, or I just saw him in green, he's heading towards the middle. And, you get to run around and hide from everybody while they're trying to find you. And you can play it with less than 5 players, like 3 players or 2 players, and it'll add these little bot characters that help you out or whatever.
The little Yoshi wagon,
little
wooden
Yoshi
wagon
robot-looking things, yeah. But really, the game shines in 5-player, and the whole thing really does. Even some of the single-player stuff is really fun to watch other people do, like the Donkey Kong Crash Course, which is you hold the gamepad and it's just all tilt controls, and you're trying to control this really fragile spring ball thing through an obstacle course that's themed around the original arcade Donkey Kong. And it's so hard, but it's so much fun to watch people do, because it's really enthralling to watch it, and I couldn't believe how much fun we had with that. We did wind up playing a little bit of New Super Mario Brothers towards the end of the night, but really it was all about like the Zelda stuff in Nintendo Land, the Pikmin game, the Animal Crossing game. We didn't really get it first, but a few months later we wound up playing that for a while, and that game's really fun too. But everything in that game is really well crafted. It's really, really fun, and what an amazing gift that I got was this system. And I've enjoyed the heck out of it. The entire time I've had it, I really, really, really enjoyed it. I mean, I've gotten more than their money's worth out of the machine.
I don't get why I get so much shit. I don't
because
see
it's not hardcore. It's not Call of Duty and Gears of War
But when has Nintendo been that? Never.
No, they've never
That's
been
the
that.
thing. They've been steadily awesome. Other than the Virtual Boy, they've been steadily awesome.
Well, a lot of the sheen, I think, on Nintendo came off during the N64 era. Just because day one, that was the best that those games were going to look. And at that time, when you had PlayStation 2 and then subsequently the Xbox come out, and all of a sudden, when I think it's really the ugliness of the N64 and when the Xbox came out and brought this new kind of gamer into the video game stores. And it's kind of a stupid fucking name for them, but the X Bros that came in, all of a sudden everything had to be a hardcore violent shooter, and games weren't allowed to be fun anymore.
And that really started with PlayStation. I mean, PlayStation 1 was where that started from.
And and maybe I'm a little jaded by it because I did jump on the PlayStation bandwagon. Now, I mean, I would argue that Spyro and Crash being some of the more successful games, and Legend of Zelda, son.
That's the thing, is that it started there, but it wasn't exclusive to that. The original PlayStation did have very fun games, and it also had I mean, Castlevania Symphony of the Night wasn't a hardcore, bro-y action game. It was an evolution of a previous series, or stuff like Final Fantasy VII, but it was also where you started to get things like Medal of Honor and Resident Evil, and that's kind of where and Sony's whole marketing campaign really started pushing that system towards this different audience, this expanded audience. And we say expanded audience now, and you think of the Nintendo Wii catering to grandmothers and non-gamers, but the PlayStation was expanding the audience to non-gamers in this is the cool thing to do. Whereas before PlayStation, games were not really cool. Gamers were nerds and kind of frowned upon, whereas the PlayStation was what started to bring it into a more mainstream audience. But the other huge factor into what started hurting Nintendo was not just so gamers that grew up with Nintendo were kind of expecting to see this kind of evolution where PlayStation went, where they would have more games that were geared towards a more mature audience. And especially if you look at the highlights of towards the end of the Super NES's life cycle of games like Super Metroid that were, while they were technically all ages-ish, they were more mature kind of a thing. They were very sophisticated games. And the Nintendo 64 had these two things working against it. Number one, because the graphics were so difficult to program for, getting really good graphics for that era out of that machine was incredibly difficult, and very few games managed to achieve that. And then you also had and this is the system where it really started, the droughts of software. The Nintendo 64 launched with Mario 64 and Pilot Wings, and you didn't get another title for 2 months before we saw Shadows of the Empire, and then it was nothing for a good long while. And Nintendo kept falling into this trap where they couldn't really fill their release schedules very well. And it's also where you started to see a migration of third parties away from Nintendo, because nobody really wanted to make games on these expensive cartridges that they decided to use on the Nintendo 64. So they were going to Saturn and especially Sony with these the compact discs, because you could make more sophisticated games for considerably less money. And Nintendo's, again, refusal to conform to the standards. Even after the Nintendo 64, they're like, all right, we're going discs, but we're not going to use regular DVDs. We're going to shrink them down to these little mini discs in our GameCube system. And again, really put the kibosh on the whole bit with the third parties because they didn't want to compress all their games into these little discs, and it made it so much more difficult. Same thing with the controller. One of the reasons you don't see GameCube games ported to, say, there's no GameCube Virtual Console is because some of the games would have to really be retooled because the GameCube controller had these. First off, it had fewer buttons than most other controllers because it had 3 shoulder buttons instead of 2. You had that one weird little Z button and nothing to match it on the other side. So a lot of shooters and whatnot that were coming out in that era, like the original Call of Duties, wouldn't function properly on the system without that extra button. But you also had analog trigger buttons. The triggers were fully analog where you would, they're pressure sensitive and then they had that extra click in the end of it. And no controllers have those kinds of buttons on them anymore. They're just like triggers. You press them, and they're digital. They're on or off. Whereas the GameCube, like playing something like Rogue Squadron, where you can really control how fast your X-wing is going by how hard you're pressing the shoulder button, you can't really emulate that properly without some serious rejiggering of the controls. And going in and doing that kind of stuff is a lot of extra work for a simple port of something to put on some sort of download service. So stuff like that further pushed away third parties from Nintendo, and they've never recovered from it because at that
third
point,
party wants to touch them.
Yeah, because after the GameCube, they did the Wii, and it was hard for anything to sell besides Nintendo games because for 2 generations, the best games on Nintendo consoles were Nintendo games. So that just kind of got into this self-perpetuating cycle of people don't want to buy third-party games on Nintendo consoles because they're usually the crappiest versions, and that comes from having to do extra compression on GameCube and Nintendo 64, so their third-party ports were typically the worst versions of the games. And once that was no longer the case, either third parties didn't want to put the effort into making proper games on the systems because nobody was going to buy them, or they would put the effort into games and then people wouldn't buy them. Games like No More Heroes, games like Mad World, A Boy and His Blob, even the excellent port of Okami and weirdo things like Kororimpa, the marble rolling game. These great third-party games showed up on the Wii, unique to the other platforms because the power of it was so different. And the Prince of Persia game, after they did that reboot for Xbox and Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3, they went back to the, I guess, Sands of Time universe, and they made this kind of sort of subpar game for the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3, but a totally different team made a totally different version of the game for the Wii that is actually vastly superior to the Xbox 360 and PS3 game, but nobody knows it because so few people bought it, because it's just this stigma that was attached to it. And I think that was really where Nintendo kind of sort of fell off, and that's where their third-party woes are stemming from with the Wii U, besides the fact that the Wii U didn't fly off the shelves and set the world on fire because the X-Bros and people were holding out for the serious game systems. And it goes back to what you were saying before, Dan, is that video games stopped being allowed to be fun. And this is a fun machine.
Like, if you go on to any forum, if you go on to Reddit or Giant Bomb or any of these, the bigger sites, and you'll see a ton of people, blasting. PlayStation especially gets a ton of shit now with the PS4 that's come out, of people blasting them for pushing the indie games so hard. And that sucks, man. Like, the indie games are fun.
They are.
If you look back at E3 last week, the best part of the presentations to me, and I don't have an Xbox One, I'm probably not going to get one. I did have a 360 for a little while. I don't have one anymore. But the best part of the presentations for Sony and Microsoft, in my opinion, were the indie game sections, because there's really interesting, fun stuff that's coming out now, and you're still going to get Watch Dogs, and you're still going to get things like The Division, and there's a new PlayStation, so there's going to be a new God of War, and that game's really fun. I like the God of War series a ton. I'm a big fan, But like, I mean, I think I've told you guys before, just in conversations off the air, that my favorite game that came out last year was Guacamelee.
That
I'm so
game's
excited
awesome.
about that. For
Yeah,
Wii U.
And for anybody listening, July 1st on I think damn near every platform. I think even including the Wii U.
Especially the Wii U, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
Because of all the Nintendo references in Guacamelee.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe
July
that game
1st,
wasn't on there.
I remember you
July
told me about that,
1st,
Chris.
Guacamelee, like Super Ultra Turbo Edition.
Yeah, with
Super
all the
Turbo
out-
DLC.
Championship Edition.
Super Turbo Championship Edition. It's going to be $15. It's got just this unbelievably awesome story, and the graphics are great, and it plays like butter. As nobody says that, but it plays so incredibly.
I know the people that say
smoothly.
that.
Do you? Okay, I don't live in New Jersey anymore, so I seem to remember motherfuckers walking around being like, "It's like butter," because that was a thing on SNL years ago.
Coffee talk.
There you go, Coffee Talk with Linda Richmond, I think.
Mm-hmm.
It was fucking
And you get to
stuff
play
now.
as a chicken.
And you get to play as a chicken, and you get to play as a female character who's just as badass as the male character. Which I have daughters, so that shit's all of a sudden very important to me. But that game is just fun, and these games that are coming out, these indie titles that are coming out. I bought 2 weeks ago. I bought Octodad.
Oh, that game
PlayStation
is so
4.
much fun.
I want
And-
to try that game.
Oh my god, Octodad is a blast, and it's another thing. It's got those references. I put that post up on Facebook where the video rental machine in the grocery store is Runner Rentals, and it's got Bit Trip Runner, just running across the top of the video machine. And there's
awesome.
so much fun stuff out there, and it's really become, looking at E3, it really became, evident to me that we currently live in a two system necessity, right? You need either a PlayStation 4 or an Xbox One. I would argue a PlayStation 4 because it's still $100 cheaper, and you get, even with the Kinectless version, that's a whole other issue. But you get a better system with better power for the long term. But then you also need a Wii U, because the great thing about Nintendo now is that they don't need the third-party titles. Nintendo is the only place you're going to get Nintendo games. Third-party games you can play on your PS4 or your Xbox One. But if you want to play, Nintendo Land, like you're saying, or Mario Kart 8, or these really classic, fun games, family games too, you got to have a Nintendo as well. And there's nothing wrong with that now.
Another big thing that goes to what you're saying is that the only other company, and possibly even more so than Sony, that's embracing the indie scene is Nintendo. They're really, really, really embracing the indie scene hardcore, and they've got a lot of great exclusive indie titles on their platform, like the upcoming Shovelknight, which looks amazing.
Oh my god,
But
I'm so excited for that.
What's really awesome about the way Nintendo handles indies is that they handle them exactly like every other publisher. So when you go to the eShop and you look at the main page, there's the same amount of digital retail space afforded on the main page to their biggest game. Like, you'll have Mario Kart 8 and then right next to it Guacamelee or whatever, Little Inferno.
They treat everything the same.
Exactly, they treat
Which
everything
is
the
awesome.
same, including
'Cause
virtual
that's how it
console
should be.
titles. So, like,
That's how-
you'll have
that's how it should be.
a page, and it'll have Earthbound right next to New Super Mario Brothers, right next to Chasing Aurora, and it's like they're all this. They take up the same amount of space. They give everything the exact same. They don't really push off indie games to the side. Like, even in the PlayStation Network, you shop indie games, and especially in the Xbox stuff, you shop indie games. But Nintendo just throws everything on the main page. If it's a new game coming out that week, no matter who's publishing it, no matter what kind of thing it is, if it's a virtual console title, if it's something from 20 years ago, or if it's something brand spanking new, it's going to get the same level of attention as everything else. And I respect that so much about them. And that's the thing that I guess... See, over the holiday season, I worked for Nintendo, and it was my job. I was stationed at Toys R Us to explain the Wii U and the 3DS to people. And one of the things that it was so hard to convey to people, and I don't understand why this didn't get plugged into their brains, was that they would look at the shelf in the store and say, "There's no games here. Where are all the games?" I say, "They're on the eShop. Plug in your Wii U when you get home. download Super Mario Brothers for $5. Oh, Super Mario Brothers! I haven't played like the old one. I'm like, yes. I pull up my phone. I show them a video. This game is available on your system right now for $5. And they're like, oh, I got to do that and play Legend of Zelda.
It hits multiple markets.
Exactly, and all the games, every single Thursday, new games come out for that system. They may not be full-blown giant retail games, but
they're there.
I don't know if it's just me, but I don't care. I like these little games. I like the combination of large games and small games so that I don't need to dedicate 30 or 40 hours to beating a specific game. I mean, NES Remix 1 and 2, Runner 2, DuckTales Remastered, Little Inferno. I've had so much fun with these games. Heck, Earthbound. I didn't get a chance to play through Earthbound when it originally came out. And now hunting down that game is in the hundreds of dollars, but not on the Wii U. I downloaded it for $8. Yay me. So,
well, and I'm with you 100% on that, because the games that I play now, and maybe it's different because you and I have kids, but with what my life is now between a job and a family, as much as I would have liked to play Ni no Kuni last year, that game looked amazing. As much as I would have liked to play it, I'm not going to play it. I don't have that much time anymore. So I'm going to get, maybe 2 or 3 AAA releases every year. I'm probably going to get Destiny when it comes out for the PS4 this fall, because that game looks amazing and that'll be a lot of fun. I can play it online. I don't know. I think so. I think so.
Son of a
But,
bitch.
I'll get that game. But like I said, I bought Octodad. The PlayStation Store does a lot of really good flash sales, and every week they discount their titles. And if you're a PS Plus member, you get an even bigger discount. And you can get games for, $5-6 that will take you 5 hours to beat maybe. But that's what I want now. That's what I have time for. So, like you, Chris, I just jump right in and I'm like, this is awesome. This is what I want, because these games are fun again.
Yeah, and that's really what the indie scene is hitting for me more than anything. I mean, when I think of the indie games that I picked up on my 3DS, like VVVVVV or a Cave Story, things like that, I've had so much fun with those games. And I love that they exist. And wow, we've gotten wildly off topic, and as enjoyable as it was to discuss all this stuff, we're probably running long, so we should probably call it on this particular podcast.
That's
the
all right.
Wii U was a good gift, Chris.
The Wii U was a damn good gift. It was a good gift.
We can edit all that shit out and put it in for next week.
Yeah.
When we talk about the best indie titles you can buy.
There you go.
Boom.
Done.
All right, everybody. That was
everything's coming up, Millhouse.
That's gonna be the end of our show. Thanks again for joining us. We're on geeklife.com, G33KLife.com. If you've got any questions, comments, concerns, whatever you want to send our general direction, Dean, what's the email address?
That's G33KLIFESITE@gmail.com. That is geeklifesite@gmail.com.
Fantastic. So yes, anything you guys have to say, ask us, whatever. We love to hear your questions. We love to hear your comments. Speaking of comments, go to iTunes, give us 5-star ratings, or if you want to give us a crappy rating, tell us why, because we want to know. But rating our show is how more people find us, and the more people find us, the more people ask us questions, the better shows we can give you guys. We got some plugs, obviously. Dean, what you got?
Wow. I think the only thing I have is check out our other podcast, The Geek Philosophers. Check out our website. Check out Dan's very soon to come beer cast or beer review. We're working title, but that'll be awesome when it's up. And just check out the YouTube and the videos that we've been doing. We've been doing one video daily of a playthrough. Right now we're on Tiny Toon Adventures, Buster's Hidden Treasure, and then we will be going back to Castlevania, and that'll be tons and tons of fun.
Oh, yeah, Konami.
Awesome. Mike, what do you got to plug? Anything?
I was going to plug Dean playing through Konami games, but still check out my buddy's bail bonds company, Elite Bail Bonds. Someone's going to get put in jail at some point, so.
We hope.
201-289-7703. Why sit in jail when he can post your bail?
Dan, what do you got?
Just the beer review show that's coming up. I think we're changing the title to Drinking with Dan because I like that. It sounds cordial and inviting. So Drinking with Dan coming soon. I've got one of my good friends is working on a theme song for the show, so I'll have a placeholder theme song going for a little bit. And then my friend Eric Troop, who you can check out on SoundCloud, and his band just recorded an album. He was up in Pennsylvania this past week putting down some tracks. But you can check him out on SoundCloud at Eric Troop, EricTroop. He's going to be recording a custom intro for Drinking with Dan. So I'm pretty stoked about that. Other than that, nothing else right now.
Hopefully I'll be on there one time, Dan.
Yeah, we'll get that all taken care of. Chris, it is my goal to get you drunk on air, which is never going to happen. But, man, do I want it to.
I've had a drink with Chris once. That was for my bachelor party, and it was glorious.
I can
I'll make it happen
imagine.
when it needs to.
Yeah,
and all I have to plug is Nintendo Force magazine. You can find me every in all the issues so far this year, which has only been 2. But yeah, I read a regular column in Nintendo Force magazine called Peripheral Vision, where I take a look at video game peripherals for Nintendo consoles that and the unique video game experiences that made them spectacular. The current issue of Nintendo Force is on sale, where I talk about the Game Boy Player and how it stacks up to, say, Virtual Console Game Boy Advance games and all that other jazz. And that's pretty much the long and short of it. That's going to be our show tonight. Thank you, everybody, for joining me. Oh, yeah, what's up?
One more thing. Let me just jump in here. At this point, with all the shit that you and I give each other, my friend, I just want to put this out there for everybody. I've known you for damn near, 14 years now at this point? Yeah, which is crazy. And happy fucking birthday. I love you, man.
Aw.
Happy birthday, Chris. I'll have a drink to that.
That's true. Happy birthday.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. All right, on that super nice note, thanks for joining us, everybody. Have a wonderful night. Yeah, so in kind of sort of celebration of the whole my birthday thing, I will die. Apparently.
Whoa, man! Whoa! Easy.
Oh,
No,
you're not going to make it. That's a shame.
Not going to make it. It's all over.
Oh, well, whatever.